principal finalist forum for the Pittsville High School Principal position. I wanted to welcome you tonight. I appreciate you coming out to spend time getting to know more about our 3 finalists for the position. I'm Jason Knott, District Administrator for the Pittsville School District. Pastor Dave Bradley is going to be moderating. He volunteered graciously to moderate for us tonight, and we will be asking the questions. I want to go over kind of briefly how we got here and then what tonight's going to look like. So on May 30th, we posted the positions to weekend. For the high school position, we had 14 applicants. We had a panel of 15 teachers and administrators and 10 community members who were solicited through my weekly communication. We had it posted in the Pittsville Record, and then we sent an all-staff email. We took everyone who wanted to be on the committees, everyone who responded to the panel request, reached out, they specified which interview process they wanted to be a part of. So we then rated the applicants, the 14 applicants, because it's not feasible to interview 14 people, and went through looking for various qualities. And what we really liked about the process is we sent out a survey to staff and to families, and it was in the Pittsville Record once again, asking for what are those 4 most important traits and characteristics you'd like to see in this person. And I would tell you they were exactly the same for staff and the community and families. The 4 priorities were the same, which says a lot about our community, right? Like the school is the heartbeat of the community and vice versa, right? So that was, and the bottom 2 were the same for both groups. So we then crafted the questions for the interviews based upon those priorities. The questions were crafted solely off of those priorities that were identified. So the teams interviewed 5 applicants on Monday, and then separate of each other, they rated the applicants and came up with the top 2 based upon these rubrics and sheets that we used. And that's how we came up with the top 2 were different, which is why we have 3 people tonight for the final session here, coming from the community and staff and family members, so that you can get a look at the folks and hear them answer questions that you've submitted. And if we don't have enough questions to fill the time, what we're going to do is we're going to pass the mic around at the end if people want to ask questions from the audience. Also, we are streaming this event. We don't know what this is going to look like because the Wi-Fi is spotty in here, but we're hoping that it's going to work. And the message to those that are watching at home, or it's going to be recorded, is if you want to submit feedback, you can email me. My email address is on the YouTube page. Up until noon tomorrow, I'm going to take comments and feedback tomorrow about the applicants. And then at that point, I'm going to start reviewing the comments and the interview data to make a decision of who we're going to offer the position Pittsville High School Principal to. So that's just kind of an overview of how we got to this point with 3 finalists. We had 101 community members and 61 staff fill out the survey. Community and family members, the survey with the traits and characteristics. That's a pretty good representative sample size. So we were very happy with that. So, Pastor Dave, if you want to take your spot, and once again, I just want to remind folks, this is going to be on YouTube, so if you do have to leave early tonight, you can go home. It'll be uploaded to our YouTube page. You can watch it in its entirety. You can tell other people to, and then if you want to share some feedback and comments, send that to my email address, and I'll be reviewing all that up until tomorrow. Okay? So we will be having our first person tonight is going to be Taylor Verhaagh. So Pastor Dave will introduce them, do a brief bio off of the postage you saw. Then each applicant's going to have 5 minutes to do an introduction. And then I will signal to them, because we want to leave as much time as possible for the questions. They will also have 5 minutes at the end for a closing. So this is the sell. This is why you should want me as the next principal of Pittsville High School. So that's kind of how the format's going to look for tonight. So thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. So tonight we have, as our first applicant, is Taylor Verhaagh. Taylor writes that she has been involved in education for 7 years and grew up in Chile, Wisconsin with a very involved family who taught her values such as hard work, patience, and being a kind person. Throughout her years in education, she has experienced many specialized programs, team teaching, and additional assignments coaching and mentoring students. She's currently the health teacher at Marshfield Middle School. Her leadership roles have included positive behavior intervention leader, support advisor, student council advisor, human growth and development ad hoc committee, and serving on the building leadership team. Taylor strives to support her students, school, and community by being involved. She loves education because she strongly believes she can make an impact on students of all ages. Please welcome Taylor Verhaagh.
Lights are a little bright in here. All right, so what an absolute honor it is to be here tonight. My name is Taylor Verhaagh, and I couldn't be more excited to have this opportunity to be the principal here at Pittsville High School. I want you to know I've been preparing myself for this opportunity like this one for the past couple of years through my professional responsibilities that I've taken upon myself. I understand that every school district has its strengths and challenges. My responsibility is to learn what is working, continue to uncultivate an environment for that to continue to thrive and be an active member within a team working towards a solution. I strive to implement a solution and execute a plan. My whole philosophy in every aspect of life is whatever comes my way, it all starts with relationships. I lost my spot. My responsibility is to learn what is working, and whatever comes my way, it starts with relationships. That is where it starts, and it ends with accountability. Whether that's a building issue, a food service issue, student, a parent issue, whatever throws my way, it starts with a relationship, and it has to end with accountability. I want to create and foster a love for learning that extends beyond the classroom to improve students socially, emotionally, and academically, while improving their employability skills and to become an active citizen in this community. I will strive to have an open line of communication between home, staff, and students. I want to create and establish a culture here that does the following. Alignment. Identify specific actions and attitudes is crucial as it ensures everyone in the organization understands the criteria for high performance. It creates a shared focus, direction, and expectation for everyone. The second thing I want to create here in our culture is communication. Clear communication of expectations is vital for execution and performance. It prevents misunderstandings and promotes a culture of transparency and accountability. The third thing is ownership. Expecting expertise in roles encourage people to take responsibility in their growth and own their area. This led to a more capable and empowering workforce because they know that they own and are responsible for whatever's taught in the classroom. The next thing is vision and value. This creates a guiding framework that unifies your team. This shared sense of purpose not only fuels motivation, but also helps everyone understand the why behind their actions. It creates a deeper commitment to the organization and team success. The next thing is connection. This underscores the significance of building strong relationships and caring about people. At the end of the day, people want to know that you care for them. It drives connection, collaboration, and support for the people in the culture. And the last thing is accountability. Making the expectation and metrics of competence that demands an action and attitude for personnel the new reality of your organization. Establishing clear expectation and metrics isn't just about setting high standards, it's about ensuring those standards become ingrained into the culture. By holding people accountable, students, staff, administration, you create an environment where excellence becomes the norm and it drives consistent and exceptional results.
Thank you, Taylor. So we'll open up the question period with our first question. This comes from a staff member, and they ask, how would you support our students with disabilities, advanced learners, and everyone in between? Please provide examples.
Thank you for the question. I think my background suits whatever students comes into our building. I think my background in special education, I have a true passion for that. Teaching in the intellectual disability area, really engaging in those opportunities. I truly believe that they need to be inclusive into their classmates and with their peers as much as they can. Can you repeat the question one more time? Sorry.
That's all right. How will you support our students with disabilities, advanced learners, and everyone in between? Please provide examples.
So the second one is advanced learners. I think creating opportunities where they're challenged. I think, if we don't have that here, let's ask ourselves why we don't, and let's implement something to challenge those learners as well. I think trying to meet everybody's needs here at Pittsville High School is necessary. And I think that's what that leadership is, their role is to do.
Thank you. The next question comes from a parent. They ask, if I contact you about a concern as a parent, can I expect to be heard?
Absolutely, your voice is most important. I think my job as a leader is to listen first, and then, give you those directions of what exactly happened or that situation. But I either a phone call, you probably won't receive an email from me because I truly believe in face-to-face conversations, whether that's, sit down in my office or we meet somewhere else. But I truly believe that your voice will be heard. I think parents are a link to education, and they bridge the gap between teachers and staff and their households.
Thank you. The next question comes from a staff member. What experience do you have working with high school students?
Well, I spent 4 years in the special education program, one in Eau Claire School District, where I taught and team taught with high school students in the English department. And then I spent 3 years in the intellectual disabilities students, where we worked on the essential standards. I also did a program called Project Life for our 18 to 21-year-olds transition program that were in special ed programs. So we worked with community members. We got them internships throughout the community. They went to 3 separate rotations throughout their year. And we worked with business people, trying to find their knack of what they really wanted to do by the time they were 21 and exiting our building. I also was a high school basketball coach. I just completed my 6 years. So I think I have a lot of involvement with high school students. I enjoy that age. I'm currently in 7th grade at the middle school level, but I truly enjoy that age of high school where, we get to see them progress as freshmen coming in and learning, as well as seeing them exit the building and, hopefully starting their career.
Thank you. Our next question comes from a parent. How would you help students achieve their goals?
I think it's finding what their strengths are, finding what works, finding their knack, finding, having conversations. It starts with the relationship. My job as a leader is to know every student in the building. I think that's the best part of your job is to welcome them as they come in every day, create that relationship, and then really it excels from there. Meeting with them frequently, whether that's when it's a big challenge in their life or when things are going well, seeing them at sporting events, seeing them at their extracurricular activities, their clubs. I truly believe that, I would do anything it takes for students to reach whatever goal there is. Or if it's an internship, I know they're juniors and seniors, they go out to internships for their CTE program. So I think that's really important, but also going to the field to see them on the job and seeing their employability skills as well.
This next one is from a staff member. Please describe your leadership philosophy.
I think I hit it on my introduction, but I think my philosophy in everyday life is about relationships. It has to be. And when you create relationships, it starts there, but then it's holding staff and students to very high standards and to hold them accountable. When accountability is set and you have structure and you are firm with your discipline, I think that's where students thrive. And I truly believe that, again, it has to start with the relationship that you build with them.
Thank you. This next one comes from a parent. Outside of academia, what do you do to enrich your community?
Very involved. I think, seeing them outside of these 4 walls and seeing them in the community, whether that's, visiting businesses in the Pittsville area at their job, or that's going to, their sporting event. I truly believe you will find an invested leader, not only from the time we're in these buildings, but also throughout the community. I want to know the businesses around here. I want to get involved, and I want to do what's best for our kids in the building.
This next one comes from a community member. We know religion is not to be used in classroom criteria, but what religious leanings or influences do you bring with you?
I think my teaching all falls back on my faith. And I truly believe that, growing up in a Lutheran community, still going to church and being actively involved, I think that's really important. But I also think that each person comes with a different point of view of that. I'd love to be a part of this church in this town, and I think that's really important as well. So learning, I guess, from all students and really engaging in what their true beliefs are is also really important to my leadership skills.
This one comes from a parent and a staff member. How would you immerse yourself in the community of Pittsville if you're hired?
Can you repeat that?
How would you immerse yourself in the community of Pittsville if you're hired?
I think you'll find an active, engaged leader. I think, I'm 15 minutes from this building. I truly believe that we're here for the students and staff and to create a culture to be the best in the state, best in the nation. Why not reach that goal? I think we truly have really good things going on here between your clubs, between your CTE program, between your cranberry tours to, your egg science, to your foods lab. I was on the tour with the students this last couple days and, really impressed with what's going on here. You don't see this everywhere, and I think that's really important. But I also think that, it starts with a great leader, and it's also, you're not going to see me come and go. You're going to see me be here for a really long time. I'm not going anywhere. I'm a Central Wisconsin girl, and like I said, I'm 15 minutes from the school, and I really want to make an impact here.
Thank you. And this next one's also from a parent and a staff member. What are your thoughts and experience with mental health? What are your thoughts and experience with mental health sciences or services through the school?
Well, being in my current position as a health teacher at the middle school, we bring in our Marshfield Clinic health system, and we teach our middle school students the QPR steps, which is question, persuade, and refer. And I think bringing in guest speakers to speak with students on mental health is crucial. Not only students, but also staff. What can we do? What services are out there and provide for students in our community? But I truly believe, we have the resources available, but why not welcome them into our building and give our students and our staff and our community the expertise that is available.
And then finally, our last question comes from a staff member. Society has embracing several narratives that have nothing to do with the truth. How would you respond to these agendas?
I think honesty is one of the most important pieces of education and a leader. Sometimes tough love hurts, but I also believe tough love goes a long way and it builds that relationship, whether it's with the staff member, whether it's with the student. I'm a leader that's not afraid to be honest, but I also know that empathy and the creativity that the leadership brings of how you say that to students is also really important. But I truly believe that, it has to start there.
Thank you very much. Do we have time for questions from the audience?
Yep. I'm going to take the wireless mic if anybody in the audience wants to ask. You what? Of course you do that.
All right, I've got two questions.
Okay.
One is, you referenced your Lutheran upbringing. In the last 4 years, which would be 209, 210 Sundays, how many of those were you in church, in your local church?
0, because I was a head basketball coach as well as helping my parents as well as visiting my brother with baseball games. But I'm very actively involved and I'm willing to learn about cultures, but I also really want to try to find the right church for me, as well as, in our current church, we've had a lot of changeover in our current church that I grew up in. I haven't lived here. I went to the University of Sioux Falls out in South Dakota for a while, so that was through my college. But when I've been back in Marshfield, we've had Sunday day practices, Sunday evening practices. So trying to fit it in the schedule I know my brother and my sister-in-law are very actively involved in their church. Have not been to a service yet, but I'm willing to learn. And I thank you for your question.
Also, with the woke agenda that's sweeping the nation in a lot of different school districts, what is your opinion on the woke agenda?
Can you repeat the question, the woke agenda?
We're gonna move on to the next question. We're gonna
Okay.
try to keep it to one per person.
Okay, thank you.
Hey Taylor, thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
So inevitably, you're gonna be dealing with conflict. I'm curious how you deal with conflict from above you. So chances are you're not gonna agree with everything from your district administrator.
Absolutely.
How do you approach that?
Great question. I think it goes back to your communication and really having open, honest communication and really following your mission and vision for your strategic plan of your district. That's out there, that's the front page that you see. And asking tough questions of why. Why are we implementing this? Does it follow our plan? Does it help students? And I think at the end of the day, if those questions are asked that you can help students and it's what's best for the district, I might disagree. But I also think in a friendly manner, it's okay. It's okay to not agree with everything that goes on as a leader. But I also think at the end of the day, you gotta ask yourself the question, is it what's best for students and staff and the community?
Thank you for being part of this. I very
Absolutely.
much appreciate it. You've been part of big school districts, and we have a tiny little one. Are you prepared for that difference?
I think when I took my master's program through the University of Verhaagh Falls, I had 3 phenomenal facilitators. One was from Amherst School District, one was from the Point Roosevelt Elementary School, and one was from Jefferson in the Point School District. And I always honored the Amherst School District principal. She was one that I would go to with any questions, concerns, help. I think I'm prepared for it. I'm a Chile girl, Chile, Wisconsin, born and raised, me and my 2 siblings, and I truly believe we have a very unique situation here, and I'm ready to take on whatever task I want. I've always wanted to work in a smaller school district, and I think this is the place for me.
Thank you.
Up top, Jason.
I also thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Quick question. So what comes in front of you? You have a student that has one way of thinking, parent that thinks something different, and your staff that is on your team is thinking something different. What would be your approach? What would you do if that was in front of you?
Great question. I'd get everybody in the same room, first off, and I incorporate our circle conversation. I think getting everything out on the plate in front of them, what's being said at home, what's being said as a student, and what's being said as a staff member, and kind of being the mediator with that and trying to find a solution. We can sit here and state all the problems, but really, what's the solution? At the end of the day, you want to go home and feel good about that solution as well. And if we keep dwelling on the problem, we don't get anywhere. So I think solution focused, whatever the reason that we're all in that circle together. But I think getting everybody on the same page, here's what we see as the building, here's what we see as a staff member, here's what we see as a student, and giving the voice of those parties. I think that's really important as well. But I truly believe in this circle conversation and getting everybody in that same room together.
So in the past, we've had guest speakers, and they haven't always been very engaging for everybody. So what would your approach to that be?
I think it's just honest. Obviously feedback from students. You must be a student. So I would truly believe that ask the students what they're looking for in the speaker, and then it's my job and my administrative team job is to get those people in here to help. We don't want to waste your time. That's a big thing, and I think whether it's student council, whether it's a different club that wants that speaker in here, let's go for it. Like I said before, I strive to be the best, and we want to get those people in here that have the great expertise in those areas.
Hi, thank you for being here.
Yep.
As you can see, transparency is kind of a big deal in our school district at this time. And as you, at this point, our leadership has pretty much shown that they want the community involved. And I guess what takes do you have on that? You had mentioned that you're into face-to-face conversations versus emails. How would you extend the transparency to the community?
I think being an active member, I think, being at things, being out in the community, going to visit internships, meetings, parents. If I get hired here, I got a lot of work to do. I got to meet with my staff, I got to meet with parents, I got to meet with students. And I think that's where it starts. It starts building those relationships, across the board, district-wide. I'm not afraid to meet new people. I'm not afraid to, go to a sporting event or going to a band concert. But I think that's where your leader comes in hand and bridging the gap between home, school, and with those students and parents as well. But I think transparency is something that I would implement right away. But again, be involved, be active. I think that's what I would do for that.
Anybody else? I'm sorry. We're going to go to your 5-minute closing statement now. Thank you.
All right, first of all, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. It shows that we have something in common. We care deeply about our community, our leaders, and most importantly, the education of our children. After tonight, you hopefully have gotten a sense of my strong desire and excitement to be your next principal. I strive to be successful, and I'm not afraid to fail and seek alternative solutions in ways to be successful. I'm committed to Central Wisconsin. I'm not going anywhere. My family's here, and I'm very much a family-oriented person. I believe that this is what you want and need in a principal, someone who is capable, committed, and ready to work hard. I'm ready for this opportunity and challenge to serve you. Thank you again for this opportunity tonight.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Carrie Bo. Carrie grew up in Plainfield and graduated from UW-Stevens Point with her undergrad and UW-Oshkosh with her graduate degree. She taught elementary school general education, 4K through 12th grade English learners, and a migrant program. She has experience at the state level coaching school and state agency staff and enjoys that leadership role. She's passionate about education and creating a positive, successful educational experience for both students and families. Please welcome Carrie Bo. She's coming soon. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Carrie Bo.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Carrie Bo. I appreciate the introduction. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be considered for the Pittsville High School Principal position. On Monday, I had the opportunity to meet 3 of the upcoming seniors, and they offered me a guided tour and really was impressed with the facilities here. But even more so, I have to say that I was incredibly impressed with the amount of community support that you can visibly see. It's very evident here in Pittsville. There's a lot of pride placed in your school, and it's easy to see that. Your students, the students that offered the tour, we're really proud of the school, and I can see why. So to tell you a bit about myself, I'm a mom. I have 2 little girls. My oldest is entering into kindergarten, and my youngest is going into 4K. We live in Amherst. We live right down the road from Lake Emily, so you'll find us often at the beach and the playground. We spend most of our days there. And more about me is I grew up in a small town that is similar to Pittsville. And my family, we're faith-based, we're a military family, we're a hunting family, and I was taught with ethics of hard work. We produced our own food on a farm, and so we tended the garden and raised animals, and in the fall we hunt, and together as a family with the venison that we harvest, we process that. And so I'm telling you these things because with that tour that I was provided, seeing the CTE building and the way that your school community has created amazing connections with Wisconsin culture and the families and the lives of your students, it's just phenomenal. And I was so excited to see it because I could see myself in it. I was really engaged, and every room I entered, I said, wow, this is phenomenal. I was just beyond ecstatic. So to tell you more about me as an educator, I'm a very passionate individual, and I have experience teaching at all grade levels, and I also have experience as an administrator. I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity in my internship to be an administrator at all grade levels. And so specifically at the high school, as a teacher, I taught regular ed. I was a leader in the summer migrant program as well as an educator. And our focus with the migrant program was because our migratory students are at risk of dropout. I worked to help the students gain high school diplomas. And one of the things that I can champion from that experience is the students, we were essentially failing. We would come into the program and they were not getting the credits they needed because during the summer, staff are out, and so there was not communication happening between the districts from Texas, the home state, and to Wisconsin. And so I saw this lack of follow-through, and I was able to collaborate with SPASH, high school counselors and staff in the Texas home-based districts so that we could build success for our high school students. I have experienced tutoring students who are in alternate ed programs. I've experienced tutoring students who are needing of extension that are in accelerated classes, and also worked with them volunteering in my own classroom. As an administrator, I just really loved working at the high school level, building connections with the families, growing relationships with the students, and collaborating with the staff. As an educator, I am truly an advocate for all learners in all capacities. And for my goals in the building, I want to create success for each individual student. And we know that success looks differently for each student. We measure success differently. And we're going to take a different approach for each student. We want to accommodate different learning styles, different interests, different academic abilities and strengths. And to build success for each student, we really need to monopolize on our greatest resource, and that is our staff, our teachers. Our teachers are driving the whole experience for our students. And so it's, as an administrator, as a principal, it's pivotal to equip our staff with the tools they need to deliver the professional development they need and deliver the support so that we can create success for our students. To do that, I'm a very flexible educator and leader. I'm a problem solver. I'm consistently solution seeking. In my most recent position, working for the state agency of Department of Public Instruction, I was a change agent. So my role was WISE Continuous Improvement Manager. So that's a fancy way of saying is I came into a process that was not working or was not working well, and I addressed issues that were happening with schools. I would hear and take feedback, and I would take that as a liaison back to our state agencies so that we could improve processes to ease the burden that was happening with our school staff, with their responsibilities. And I created and implemented best practices, and that sentence sounds really easy, but it's not. Taking things back and translating those into state statutes and policies and rules, and then making them actionable and customer facing, school facing, it's a complicated process. And so a lot of our conversations on a technical level would become convoluted. But I was always the person in the room because I was previously an educator and an administrator. I would always bring our conversations back. So let's keep this focused. How is this going to impact our staff? How is this going to impact our schools? And more importantly, how is this going to build success for our students? I find truly that it is a privilege to work with children and families. I'm a servant to the community, and I take this role very seriously. I value families, and I want to engage families and have them present in our school community as much as possible. I want to be approachable and consistently take feedback. I'm an educator who is a motivator. I'm a leader who is a motivator, and I do this by holding people around me to the highest of expectations, including myself. I do this by being kind yet firm, and I am consistent and persistent. And so essentially I choose each day to see the best in people, and I elevate my environment by bringing the people up around me. I know that I'm speaking a lot today on my strengths, but I'm really a typically very humble person. And I show this by consistently seeking feedback. Whenever I'm working and collaborating, you will constantly hear me say, is there something that I'm doing that's working well you want to see more of? Is there something that I'm doing that you think that needs improvement that's not working well? Because I want to take that feedback, and I want to improve as a person and as a professional. I was really excited, Mr. Jason Knotts, he had shared that he surveyed the community, and he shared the traits that your community is seeking in your leadership as a principal. And I just want to applaud the community and the foresight and the true wisdom that you carry to say that you're looking for accountability, for servant leadership, authentic relationships, and communication. And I want to say that I really truly believe that I exemplify those traits. And I'm happy to continue to answer questions and further discuss my experience and my skill set to be considered for high school principal here in Pittsville.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Carrie, our first question comes from a staff member who asks, how will you support our students with disabilities, advanced learners, and everyone in between? Please provide examples.
Sure. So when we're working with students working within a disability, that's a team approach. We're developing and drafting that individualized education program, that IEP. We're looking at all the shareholders and how we can build success for that student. So specific examples of that, I've sat in and also been an educator for many students who are working within a disability. And I have to say, my child also is working within a disability at times as well. And so what we do is we give the student what they need to be successful, and that looks so different on so many levels. Within the high school capacity, how if students need more frequent breaks, if students need selective seating in the classroom, how we're presenting materials, how we're providing support with the classroom instruction. All of those things go into the IEP to accommodate students working within a disability. For students who need an extension, who are considered gifted and talented, we're taking that classroom lesson and we're extending it. We're offering challenges, we're offering different opportunities and ways to show learning in a different facet. Getting creative, thinking outside of the box. And for all the students in between, like I said, my goal is to see success for students individually. I want my students engaged. I want them invested in their learning. And to do that, we've got to make sure that the curriculum and the classroom instruction and the content is meeting students where they are and really lighting a fire, building that interest. So that's how I would cater to each learner.
Thank you. Our next question comes from a parent. This person asks, if I contact you about a concern as a parent, can I expect to be heard?
Most sincerely, most sincerely. I'm a parent too, and I so much value the trust that you place. Our state is statutorily requiring you to bring your school to some sort of education. And so if we're requiring you for your student to be here, I want you to trust your student in our hands. And so by all means, I'm happy to take any feedback. I'm very kind and approachable and respectful, but I'm not just a sounding board. I'm not, just gonna say, yeah, sure, and not take action on your concerns. I take it very seriously that you're placing your student and their education in our hands, and so I'm gonna do everything in my power to make sure that your concerns are met.
Thank you. The next question is from a staff member who asks, what experience do you have working with high school students?
Sure. So I have experience working with high school students in the Stevens Point School District. I taught the migrant program, and I work primarily with our high school students during the summer months. It was really a thrill. I loved working with our high school students and just working with the more challenging content. And then as an administrator, I worked with high school students in Wisconsin Rapids. And I enjoy those grade levels, and I really enjoy just the social life and the way that we can connect with students and challenge them in so many different ways when we're working within those grade levels.
The next question, maybe you've answered this, but maybe you'd like to expand on it. This comes from a parent, and they ask, how will you help students achieve their goals?
So the way that I am going to help students achieve goals is we really need to understand individually what their goals are. We can't provide a blanket expectation on our students. We need to get to know them as people and get to know their strengths and how they can be challenged. And from there, build that learning plan, collaborate with the staff, look for the resources that are necessary. It is my pleasure, it is my passion, it is a great challenge to make sure that we're meeting each student's individual needs, but that's what we're called to do.
Thank you. The next question is from a staff member. Please describe your leadership philosophy.
My leadership philosophy is I take a very democratic approach. I am in no way the end-all be-all. I am seeking the input of our shareholders and our staff. They know our students best. They know their school. They know the community. In addition, like I said, I want families as engaged as possible. These are your students. Children are our heart, and so in no way is it appropriate for anyone in power or leadership to be making decisions without taking feedback from colleagues and the community in general, but also showing evidence that you're working and acting on that feedback.
The next question is from a parent. Outside of academia, what do you do to enrich your community?
Good question. So outside of academia, to enrich my community, I'm a faith-based person, and so I do a lot of volunteering through my local church in Wisconsin Rapids. And I address some needs that just have kind of crossed my path. I have some friends that I have encountered through life, bringing them to me, and so I have some elderly folks who I drive to appointments, or I'm working on getting services set up like Meals on Wheels or regular transportation. So I'm not necessarily doing the transferring individually. And in addition, I have worked with folks who are English learners, and they're working on job applications, setting up their bank account institutions. I have worked with folks who have been incarcerated and need help writing their job resume and accessing employment. I really do have a servant heart. I have worked with folks that were in the military and also needed help now converting from military to civilian life. And so need help with resume and how to find employment and just readying themselves for the job force. So that is my current engagement in the community.
Thank you. And maybe coming right off of that is a question from a community member who asked, we know religion is not to be used in classroom criteria, but what religious leanings or influences do you bring with you?
Yeah, good question. I agree. There's certainly an appropriate separation of church and state, and I do believe that. But I hold myself to a high moral code. I follow the teachings of the Bible. And so from that, I think that's where the servant leadership and the humility and just the overall consistent love for the folks around me and the students and the families stem from.
Thank you. And the next one is coming from a parent and a staff member who asked, how will you immerse yourself in the community of Pittsville if you're hired?
So I want to be as involved as I can to whatever capacity that I can be. In addition to administrator, if I can pursue coaching in any way, if there's clubs that I can be a part of. But most importantly, I want to be engaged with the families. I want families to be comfortable working with me, connecting with me frequently. And, you know, in my previous educational experiences, I've, had home visits and lots of after-school meetings with families or before-school meetings with families. And that's something that I'm a parent too. And so I really value that. I really cherish that, and I take that very seriously. And so I want to have that level of engagement with our families, but I also want to have that same engagement with our staff, that we're consistently collaborating.
This next question is also from a parent and a staff member. This person asks, what are your thoughts or experience with mental health services through the school?
So our mental health services, it's a deficit, unfortunately, within our schools. Schools in our state are hemorrhaging. They have so much need within their student body and such little support and services available. Thankfully, we did have an increase in budget for student mental health services recently, in the most recent budget pass. When I was getting my grad degree, that was my focus of emphasis as I interviewed many of the administrative staff, superintendents and principals and school psychologists in these surrounding areas to discuss what services they had and what their needs were. And so I'm very versed in locating, identifying the community resources that are available. But the reality is there's a long waiting list. So I'm also very comfortable speaking with families on if they have insurance, how we can access mental health services beyond just the state services that are available.
And then our final question comes from a staff member who asked, society has been embracing several narratives that have nothing to do with truth. How would you respond to these agendas?
Yeah, that's a good question. Society has been embracing many narratives that are not addressing the truth. And I think that if we have a firm foundation of what truth is and we stand to that we don't entertain more than acknowledging it to whatever degree we need to, not feed on the drama, not feed on the negativity that some of our members of society offer or give input on. That's how we come back to what is right, to what is truthful. The phrase, the truth will set you free, I believe that I stand on that. In our educational system, no, we cannot be entirely transparent because we certainly have to have a level of confidentiality with, certain student services. But we need to walk our talk and be firm with what is right and what is good. And there's a lot of that happening here at Pittsville.
Thank you. At this point, we'll open up the questioning to the floor.
So I'd like to make a statement here. Prior is, one of the many things I love about this community, having come back 2 years ago, is we welcome our visitors. And this is a really difficult forum for people to come into. And I applaud them for putting themselves up on stage and answering questions. So I would ask that you would respect the purpose that folks are here tonight, and we not use this as an agenda. Okay? So let's try to find out more about what these folks are going to bring to the Pittsville community. Any questions?
Thank you for being here. I'm just wondering if you could expand on your roles and responsibilities through the DPI.
Sure. So as the WISE Continuous Improvement Manager, I was brought in. Each school in the state is given an accountability report card. And so my role was to work with the schools in reporting the data that generates the accountability report card. And so that sounds much easier than it is. So I was working with schools who were struggling to have conversations and report very intimate pieces of data like student economic status, student race, ethnicity, student tribal affiliation, working with identifying and implementing services for students who are English learners, reporting students who are working within a disability. So I was on the phone consistently with school administrators, principals, administrative assistants, walking through those conversations, how to collect that data with fidelity, accurately. And then the technical side of things was putting it into the SIS. So, if you're working with a student information system, that's what SIS stands for, like Skyward or Infinite Campus. And then taking that data and analyzing it and coaching them on how we can make data-driven decisions.
Thank you, Carrie. You answered part of the question. I just want to expand a little bit. You gave us great examples of how integrated and committed and included you are in your community currently. What would your thought be of how that would look? Like, what ideas or thoughts might you have of how you would include yourself in this community if you were chosen as the principal?
So within this community, I want to be a part, primarily speaking to the high school. I want to build, one of the things that came up in conversation during the guided tour was that we need to build our music program, and we want to build investment with the band and the choir, and we'd like to see more participation. So that was something that came to mind immediately because I am a former band student. I was first flute, not to brag, but music was such a fun it was an activity, but really, music has so many benefits to learners. And so I would love to see that program grow. I was really excited to see that there's a greenhouse because I love gardening, I love landscaping. I was just joking on the way here about my landscaping abilities. Like, I wonder if the high school needs any landscaping. I would love to be a part of that program to see how we can expand and bring more resources. I was excited to hear that we are taking the food from the greenhouse and cooking with it in the home economics class. So I, again, would love to be a part of those conversations on how can we build the programs that you already have laid a foundation for, but just continue to enhance that. I saw there was a room for processing meat. So, not also an expert on that, because I've, raised chickens and ducks and turkeys and harvested deer. And so, these were all things that I just was so inspired and excited about. So that's something that I want to be a part of too. Don't leave me out. And just that the athletics, it sounds like you're doing a phenomenal job of baseball. I don't play baseball, but I do play softball. So I would love to, if I can be part of the athletic experience, if there's ever a need for coaching, I would be happy to step up and do that. But I enjoy the school community. So I want to be present. I'm going to be a familiar face. I want to be participatory. Just that's my intention. So I don't, other than the music program, once I begin, or if I begin, I would want to kind of take an audit and see how we're doing and what, where we need growth or what our needs are, but that's what comes to mind immediately. Thanks for asking.
Hey, Carrie, thank you for being here. And perhaps I misheard, did you say, are you currently living in Amherst?
I'm currently living in Amherst Junction.
Okay. So would there be a plan to relocate closer to Pittsville?
Correct. So after I toured the facilities, I got off the phone and I said, I think we're moving the girls to Pittsville. I am so impressed. Tomorrow River School District, I moved there. Specifically, I moved from Verhaagh to be closer to home, but also I chose Tomorrow River School District because I really liked their community charter school, and that's where I had my oldest daughter enrolled. I'm very selective in the educational programming that I place my own children in, but when I looked at what was happening here in your district, I would really be happy to move to Pittsville and be part of the community and have my children to be part of this as well.
Good evening, thanks for coming. As the very recently retired library services person at the high school here in Pittsville, I'd just like to ask you about what are your feelings and your thoughts about ways to get high school students involved in reading more than just because they have to for English class.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we love our libraries and our librarians. So I also fell off reading for pleasure. After I graduated from college and became a mom, I would tell my friends and family, I don't have time to read. And you know what? I picked it back up the most recently, about a year and a half ago, and really showing our students the content, getting them interested in the texts that are available, but for our readers who don't have the capacity to sit and attend and comprehend the text, we have so many technological advances in ebooks and e-readers, and that's our society today, is we're typically looking at a screen or listening to something. And so I would love to just build enthusiasm and engagement and initiatives and highlighting different texts, trying to intrigue our students to engage. I'm glad that you asked. Thank you.
Okay, I think we'll move to our 5-minute closing statement. Take as
Okay.
much of that or little as you like.
Okay, sounds good. So in closing, I want to say that I have been a part of many interview panels I've been the interviewer and I've been interviewed. But I have never been a part of something like we're facilitating today. I've never seen the amount of commitment and support that Pittsville is placing in this selection. And I'm excited about it. I'm really grateful to witness the way the community is showing up for your students, your staff, and your families. And I have to say that this experience has really made me a better person and a better professional, just being a part of the effort overall. It's an honor and it's a privilege to speak to you and to be considered to be a part of something that you have built with integrity. I understand why you're putting the amount of rigor you have into making this very important selection. The educational programming that you have worked so hard to establish here at Pittsville High, it deserves a leader who's going to preserve and advance the foundation that you have laid. I want to commend everyone in this room and that is streaming online for your commitment to the children and families in Pittsville. And I appreciate your time in hearing from me today and for your consideration.
Thank you so much, Ms. Carrie Bo. I want to make sure she wasn't drinking the water from the last candidate. Okay, and our final candidate is Mr. Scott Huff. Scott writes that he is honored to have the opportunity to meet with the Pittsville community. He is married to his high school sweetheart of 27 years and is the father of 2 children, Kira and Clayton. Scott has over 26 years of experience in education and has worked in 2 states and another country. He taught for 18 years in grades 5 through 8 and implemented effective teaching strategies. As an educational leader, he embraces servant leadership, prioritizing the community's needs and growth, and advocating for conscious discipline to foster emotional intelligence and self-regulation in students. He is grateful to be considered for the opportunity to serve as the principal of Pittsville High School. Please welcome Scott Huff. And just keep clapping until that door opens. It's a long haul. Oh, he's not, okay. Well, you'll let us know and. That's right.
Survey data. I know Carrie had talked about those 4 characteristics that were consistent amongst family and community members. I shared that with all of the applicants prior to the interviews that we did on Monday, because I don't look at interviews as a gotcha, is that those are things that are important to us. And I want you to understand that those are important to our staff and to our community, to allow them time to gather their thoughts. Some may say, well, that would allow time for a script or whatever, but I believe truly the truth comes out while you're speaking. You can tell, the genuineness. So that's why when they reference that, very transparent about, these are the things that was during the screening calls. These are the things that are valuable to our community that we're looking for in those positions. And I wanted them to know that coming in. So I think, what was the original schedule time for this?
7:15 he arrives. So.
7:15 arrives. So what questions do you have for me about the process? Like what's left of the process? Oops, sorry. Forgot I'm a celebrity tonight. I talk to my kids all the time. YouTube, the what do they call that? With the followers, where you get the followers. What do the kids call that nowadays? Influencers. I'm an influencer today. We'll see how many, right? On YouTube. So I made a mistaken reference to MySpace the other day. My kids were like, what is that? And I was like, yeah, that's right. Probably most people I know a few of you know what that means in here. What questions do you have about the process? Like what's left? I know you do. Mark, you look like you have a question. You don't. So since no one asked, I'll just kind of go through it. So we have data from the interviews, from the interview teams, and we have I'm sorry, Melissa. Sorry, folks at home. I'm a mover. I'm standing right here. You need to put feet down here for me. So what we'll do is we'll take the information. You're going to fill out those cards. So I'm going to stay here tonight and go through every one of those cards that are filled out, and then I'm going to review the ones that are going to be submitted online. I'm hoping some folks at home send me an email, as I said, with feedback. And as I indicated in the message for doing this is going to play a role in that decision. There's no one piece that is the key piece of the puzzle. It's a comprehensive piece of truly, I believe it was Chris talked about our transparency. We pride ourselves on our transparency, and this process has involved stakeholders, like all stakeholders. Everyone had a chance to fill out the survey. Those that wanted to be on the committees for both, every family member, community member, or staff member, we didn't. That's why some of the committees are kind of large. That's getting to that point where it's almost intimidating for folks to come into, but we didn't want to exclude anybody. This is too important, and we got to make sure we get this right, and we wanted to take all those voices in that. So everyone had an opportunity to share their thought and their voice. So we're going to review all of that. I've already done some of the work of going through the application materials that folks filled out from the interviews on Monday and stuff, but by the end of the week, the plan is to have an offer out to one of the 3 applicants by the end of the week. And then next week, we go into the elementary school position. So those interviews will be set up. We have 14 applicants for the elementary position that have been being reviewed by the staff, by that 16 staff members in administration have been reviewing those applications, and we'll set up those interviews for Monday next week, and then do this next Wednesday evening. There will be another one of these for the finalists from that process. So I know you didn't ask, but I think some of you were probably wondering like what comes next. So, and ultimately, transparency is ultimately the administrative position is my hire as the district administrator. That's my job is to oversee administrators. It's my hire, but with feedback from all the stakeholders. So I want to be clear, this isn't like we don't do a popular vote for this. It's based upon all those forms of feedback. I did it again, didn't I? So, this is something that it started on May 30th with the posting, and I know it feels kind of like, wow, this happened really fast, but really in the scheme of things here, we're talking, we're already planning for next school year. I see some of my primary folks are nodding their heads because they have our new Act 20 literacy materials are coming in soon here. So the work can't stop. So we're going through this process, but I feel really good about the process as far as how we've gathered feedback and allowed people to have a voice.
I just want to say how much I appreciate that you're opening it up to your team, that you're taking input. It's very much appreciated because this little school is very important to this community.
Yes, absolutely. I told you one of the many things I love about Pittsville and coming back is truly, it's like they're interwoven, the community and the school district are interwoven. I know, I would assume we're still close to the largest employer in the community. Gardner's might give us a run for our money on that one. I'm not quite sure, but we're a huge part of the community from that capacity, but then also, the public library and the school district are your social hubs of your community, right? It's where people meet and gather. Our library in town, Tammy does a wonderful job with that. And I think we do a pretty good job here as a school district of bringing folks in. We have so much in common, and we come in here and it's all in the best interest of the community and our students. And that isn't the case everywhere. I know that sounds cliche, but it's the truth. I've been in several school districts, good school districts, and there's just something about a small rural community where, your neighbors, when they talk about you'll do anything for your neighbor, like that's not like words, that's actually action here. So I just saw Deb peek in. We'll see if Mr. Huff is ready. Any other questions? Yes. Honestly, so I am, that's a good question. So when I interviewed for the superintendent position, I think one of the questions that was asked me was, what are your goals for the district? And my answer was, you don't want to know, it's not about my goals. It's about what are your goals as a community and a district, and then finding someone who fits with that. right? Because you don't want it to be out any one person because people come and go, okay? So my vision would be, I'm very people-centered. And you heard, I'll go back to it because I'm a big believer in transparency. I think you need to be a transparent, genuine communicator. You own it when you make a mistake. And I think people appreciate that. And you don't have all the answers. You know, you rely on a team. So it's hard to quantify it into like 1 or 2 words, but I would tell you that I filled out the survey as a parent because I have 4 children in the district. And those were my 4 priorities as a parent that I listed, right? And I may have wrote a positive comment about me on one of those. So I actually didn't do that, but I know that sounds like maybe I was skirting around the answer, but I don't have like a particular, like, this is what I'm looking for. It's kind of, the whole process has allowed me to kind of have this global view of like what everybody's looking for and then try to elicit it. That was why it was so important to have the questions focused on those priorities because they were in those categories so that it let us kind of get some insight into that piece, right? Now, I will tell you, I told the interview teams before coming in, we can't look at that one 40-minute interview. Like imagine coming in somewhere and trying to put your whole life and career in a snapshot in 40 minutes, right? It's really difficult to do that. Same thing in here tonight. Like it's hard to do that, but the idea would be, we've been very transparent about what our view is, like what the community staff, that's why I shared that with folks. If they don't feel they fit within that realm of what our expectations are, that's not a good career move to make. If you know, like, this is what's important to that community, to the school, to the administrators, but I guess, Pam, the best way to answer it is I kind of echo what the community and the staff listed as their priorities but for me, it's all about transparency and just, you know, accountability, holding yourself accountable. I've said it in my emails, but it's an honor to be superintendent in my hometown. It is. Like, it's servant leadership. That word's thrown around a lot. Truly what it means, empathy, compassion, those are like servant leaders are leaders. If anybody's ever read Leaders Eat Last, like, right, it's truly you're willing to do anything, shovel snow, whatever you need to do, right? Like that's true servant leadership. And a lot of people talk about it, but actually putting it in action because we all wear many hats in this district, in this community. So I hope I answered your question, kind of. But yeah, it's not about me. I know I said ultimately it's my hire, but it's not about me. If it was about me, I would have pulled together 4 people and pulled in a few candidates and did an interview behind closed doors. It's not just about me, it's about everyone. So, yep, okay. I'll be right back.
All right. Since he's on his way down, I'll read his bio again. Do you remember from last time? Yes. So our last candidate tonight is Mr. Scott Huff. He says, I'm honored to have the opportunity to meet with the Pittsville community. He's married to his high school sweetheart of 27 years and is the father of 2 children, Kira and Clayton. Scott has over 26 years of experience in education and has worked in 2 states and another country. He taught for 18 years in grades 5 through 8 and implemented effective teaching strategies. As an educational leader, he embraces servant leadership, prioritizing the community's needs and growth, and advocating for conscious discipline to foster emotional intelligence and self-regulation in students. He is grateful to be considered for the opportunity to serve as the principal of Pittsville High School. Please welcome Scott Huff. Really thought he was going to be there.
Doing a good job.
Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Huff.
Well, hello everybody. This is kind of new to me. This type of everybody coming out to say hi to me. So thank you. I guess it's a good sign you came to see me. As I understand, I have 5 minutes to talk about myself a little bit, so I will do something. For the record, I really don't like talking about myself. And when I talk about things tonight, I will say I and me, but that's not really how I do things. I'm more of a we and us. But I know I have to talk about myself because that's an interview. So anyway, my background. I grew up in Fall Creek, Wisconsin, on a small dairy farm close to Detroit. I have 2 brothers. I'm the third and the middle child, so I have that syndrome. I will follow my older brother when he went to college up to Mount Scenario in Ladysmith, Wisconsin. I went into criminal justice to start with, but then I decided that is not what I wanted to do. So I went into education because that's always where my passion had been. After graduation from there, my first teaching job was a long-term in the 5th grade in Canada, Wisconsin. From there, I went to Marshfield, Wisconsin, where I spent 18 years in the classroom. I was an upper elementary teacher there in 6th grade, did math, did science, did reading. I also was at the middle school there for 5 years. I did biology, chemistry, and physics. From there, I went to Clintonville, Wisconsin, where I was an assistant principal there, learned a lot, loved the job. From there, I went to Stevens Point, where I was there for a little bit. I learned that I did not like big school districts because that is not the place for me, because you don't get this kind of a family feel in those type of areas. From there, I went to the Bahamas. I went to the island of Verhaagh. Loved that job. I would probably still be there if it wasn't for COVID. So I was the middle school principal there for the Bahamian students. COVID came into existence, and everybody knows how that turned out for the world. From there, I went to Ketchikan, Alaska, where I am currently the principal up there of a charter school. It is part of the Ketchikan Gateway Borough School District. It is part of the umbrella of the school district there. The island that I am on in Ketchikan is 11,000 people. It has 5 elementaries, 1 junior high, 1 high school. It graduates 150 kids. I have thoroughly enjoyed my time there, and honestly, if they knew I was standing here talking to you, they'd all be crying right now because they thoroughly enjoy having me there. That's a little bit about my academics and me personally. I am a father of 2. I have 2 kids. My daughter is actually in college up at Eau Claire, and my son is a senior this coming year. Married to my high school sweetheart, and I also like to say that we actually dated when we were in middle school, broke up, got back together. That's a real, yeah, tell me about it. I don't know how she stayed with me this long. She seems to love me still. So that is me in a nutshell.
Thank you. So we have some questions from the community, and this first question is from a staff member. They ask, how will you support our students with disabilities, advanced learners, and everyone in between? Please provide examples.
So there's a gambit of different things there, but basically in all of those, it's basically getting those students what they need to be successful. Programs may look different, but you're still doing the same for that student to make sure you are looking towards their future so that every door that's possible for that student after they graduate is open. That could be a specific type of curriculum for a student. That could be an internship for a student. That could be a college visit that you have set up for a student. That could be me setting it up and sending them down to Bahamas to study sharks and conch. It's whatever that student needs or wants. We have to figure out a way to make sure that we're getting them what they need. I don't have a specific scenario because I don't know the kid that we're talking about because they're all unique and we have to make sure that we are getting what they need.
Thank you. The next question comes from a parent. They ask, if I contact you about a concern as a parent, can I expect to be heard?
Absolutely. Depending on what the conversation is, I might even ask you to come in and talk with me. My door is always open. I actually prefer parents to come in and talk with me, step down, so we can actually have that open dialogue. Emails, I don't like them. If you send me an email about something, I will call you up and I will talk to you that way. I find that that's a way more personal way to have a conversation. If you have a concern, I want to know about it. I expect to be told about things. If I don't hear anything, that makes me nervous as well. Maybe I'm doing this that good of a job and you are happy with everything I'm doing, but I'd like to hear that too. Either way, I would like to have that open dialogue. If you see me at the gas station, by all means, approach me, talk to me. we'll have those conversations, depending on what type of conversation it is. But if it is a more of a delicate one, I would definitely say, come into the office and let's talk about that, let's see what's going on.
Okay. The next question is from a staff member. They ask, what experience do you have working with high school students?
So my academics, as I said, was basically middle school, elementary, but I did coach for 15 years at the 9th grade level at the high school in Marshfield, and I also did a year of coaching football at the high school in Clintonville. I also coached track for 5, 6, 7 years at the varsity level at the high school as well. I also then, when I was a 6th grade teacher, would make sure that my students would interact with the high school students, and we actually would go across the street because I was at Madison Elementary at the time, and we would have interactions with the high school there as well, so that their students would actually be able to present to my 6th grade students, so I would work with them in that too. As in setting in the seat of a principalship at the high school, I have not done that, but my skills are immense and my experience is broad, and I know that I can do that. Because of my background and how I grew up, I know that I can talk to egg science, I can talk to welders, I can talk to anybody that wants to go on to a four-year college or beyond. I can talk about small motors, I can talk about big motors, because one of the side talents that I have is I build hot rods and motorcycles. So all of these skills that I have, I can relate to the students and talk to them about whatever they would like to know.
Our next question comes from a parent. How would you help students achieve their goals?
First, I need to know what their goals are, and I'll listen very intently on ask questions about what they want to do. But in every scenario, in every place I've ever been, goes for adults, goes for parents, goes for kids. I listen to what they tell me, I talk and say it accurately and make sure that we are on the same page, but then I will ask a lot of what-if questions so I can really figure out what they're really wanting. Because a student might think that they have a specific idea on what they want to do. I can use my daughter, for example. She had the pathway all laid out exactly what she wanted to do when she went to college. But I was always like, okay, but don't forget about X, Y, and Z so we can keep those doors, those pathways open for different things, because as you get older, you will change your mind on things that you want to do. It's important that all the kids understand that too and say, yes, I hear you. I see this, and we'll set that up so you can succeed in that path that you want to do, but never close the door. That's something else you might want to do too.
Our next question comes from a staff member. Please describe your leadership philosophy.
I am not a dictator. I am not a micromanager. I am open and honest. And when you talk about servant leadership, I live that to a T. I didn't know what servant leadership was before I found it, but it is how I always approached everything. Empathy, respect, selflessness. I serve to help students. I serve to help parents. I serve to help community. I will take the bullets, per se. If there's something that happens, like a coach, when it goes bad, it's the coach's fault. When it goes good, it's the kids. And it will always be that way with me too. When we succeed, it's always going to be the kids. It's always going to be the staff. It will never be me. If it's bad, I step up front, and it's always going to be me. That's just the way I do it.
The next question is from a parent. Outside of academia, what do you do to enrich your community?
So where I am now, the cultural aspect is a lot of what we do. So to help with that, I interact with the Native community. We go out and we do the carvings, make sure that I'm there for their potlatches and things like that to make sure that I'm part of the community. I offer my skills and my talents. I help individuals build decks and stairway cases and whatever else they may need. I help do those types of things.
Our next question comes from a community member. We know religion is not to be used in classroom criteria, but what religious leanings or influences do you bring with you?
So yes, I believe in God. I believe in Christ. That is my belief. My belief is mine. I don't push that on anybody else. I'm a Lutheran. I still remember my mother taking me to Sunday school. So that's what I believe in.
The next question comes from both a parent and a staff member. How will you immerse yourself in the community of Pittsville if you're hired?
Well, do you have a car club? I would love to find a car club. Motorcycles, I love that too, riding. But just to get out into the community, when I was driving by the Blue Bayou, is that a supper club or is it just a bar? It's half the people swing it in there for the supper club. I didn't know.
That'd be a stretch.
Yeah, okay, so now I know. You got way out of supper. Okay. Well, anyway, I'm getting out in the community, walking around, and it's getting to know people, visiting the different businesses, getting to know our faces and talking to people. It's really what I do.
This next one is also from a parent and a staff member. What are your thoughts or experience with mental health services through the school?
So I have been in several different places where we have implemented. When I was in Clintonville, I was part of the team there when we were actually looking at bringing in therapists into the school to be able to help the students with their social emotional needs, because it is huge in the schools now. That we put in place, we got it going, but then I had left. Where I am now, it is part of our MTSS team that we have put together and what we provide for students as well, because we had written and received a grant from the state of Alaska for $4 million. And in that, we were able to hire social workers as well. The interesting part is in that dynamic, my school, because I'm a public charter school, I run my own budget from personnel to paper clips. And one of the main things that I find is so important is having a school counselor. And my elementary is the only one that will have a school counselor next year because of budget things. But they still have social workers. But in that dynamic on how I set that up, we are able to use in tandem our social workers and our school counselor to help support the students to get actual counseling in the building. Parents always know, parents are always aware, they sign off, it's always parents as our members and our partners in what we do. But it is important.
And then finally, our last question is from a staff member who asked, society has been embracing several narratives that have nothing to do with truth. How would you respond to these agendas?
Well, it's sad to see where we are in the world right now, because education is not a political football. It truly isn't. And a lot of times it feels like that is the agenda of others or some individuals to use us in that premise. I've experienced that. It is a dark, ugly side of education. And I always bring it back to the why. Why are we here? We are here to educate kids for their future, for how their parents and them look at it and what they want to do when they move forward. So I make sure that we have those avenues open for them. Yes, a lot of things will come in. Yes, a lot of things will be thrown at us as a society, as a school. Openness, honesty to that, talk to it, and make sure that everybody understands where we are as a whole, as a society, as a community.
Thank you. Now we're going to open it to questions from the floor.
Did I answer everybody's questions? Nobody was talking? No. You're right, sorry.
Thank you for joining us today. I have a question. With other districts also hiring, why did you choose Pittsville?
So during the other part of the interview, we talked about this as well. And so I am from, like I said, Fall Creek area. I've been over Marshfield for a long time as well. And everywhere I've been, everywhere I've gone, I've met incredible people. I mean, just extraordinary people everywhere you go. And I find that the world is really small because the school I'm at right now, one of my teachers, her mom was from Neosville, and another one of my paras was from Mosin. So when you find those individuals out in the world, you get to talking and reminiscing and talking about home, back where you came from and what you believe. And this area, and this Pittsville in particular, brings that back to me. I talked about how my wife and her mother have a beauty shop over in Augusta. And one of the clients that was actually my mother-in-law's, she actually worked in Pittsville. And I drove from Augusta to Marshfield for like 12 years, 10, 12, 13, a lot of years, too many years. But anyway, I would drive over and I would always see this car or whatever, and I'd talk to my wife about it. And to come to find out, I believe the lady's name was Rose, she actually worked here in Pittsville for like 20-some years, and she drove over here. And it was like, if you have that kind of dedication to a place, that's a good place to be. So that came, when I saw it come up like Pittsville, I'm applying, and I did. So that's why Pittsville.
Okay, you get a lot of time for close here.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a nice night. I just want to thank all of you for coming out, because for you to show up when the weather is finally not raining, because I know it's been raining here a lot lately, to spend your time to come to see the candidates, to talk about what we are and who we are and what we believe, that speaks volumes for all of you and for the community again as well. I had no idea what I was walking into, because he really didn't give me a lot of clear input on what I was getting into. Because if he did, I might like say no. I don't want to be on a stage underneath lights, but here I am. But thank you for that. And I just want to let everybody know that as a leader, I am open. I truly do want input from all of you, good, bad, or ugly. You can come in hot, and you can come in and talk to me, and that's fine. But we will talk through it together, and we will get to a place where we all agree and need to be for the kids, because that's why all of you are here. You have either students in high school, or will have students in high school, and you want to make sure that this decision is made and made right, so that they can succeed and do whatever they want to do in the world. And the world is big, and there's a lot of opportunity to it. So I can have those conversations with kids as they need it as well. But otherwise, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Scott.
So I reflected a little bit on Pam's question before, and I felt like I kind of babbled through a lot of stuff, but honestly, I really thought about it. I want someone who will invest in this community, because I know this community will invest in people. If I had to put it into one sentence, I want someone who will invest in the community. So, thank you. I was, the big concern about running something like this, Deb can tell you, was, what are we gonna do if no one shows up? Right? Now, with the camera facing this way, we could have made lots of applause in the background, right? I mean, it sounded like there were people here, but I really do genuinely appreciate this. This says a lot about this community, because it was short notice, but it was, you know, the reason is we had a quick turnaround, and as I said, we have another position we're going to be hiring for next week, and we want to try to get, you know, keep the momentum going here with what we need to do as a district. So short notice. That was why we did this. We didn't originally intend to do this, but we had several people reach out and say, is there any chance you could stream this? And we said, we're going to do our best effort. So I hope that it did work. And I want to remind the folks at home, and any of you, if you think of something after you get home you want to share for feedback that you didn't put on those cards, send it in an email to me, and I will kind of add that to the list of stuff. Please do it by noon tomorrow if you could. Send me the feedback. But I am going to take if you put it in those two boxes, I'm taking that back to my office tonight, and I'm camping out in there until I get through every card. So, okay. All right. Thank you again. Thanks for everyone at home.
And please remember next week, Wednesday, as we do this again for the elementary school principal candidates. Same time?
Same time.
Same time, 6 o'clock.
Why did no one tell me my mic was off the whole time?